Hello, hello. We are back with more wonderful musical goodness for a bit. I got roughly an hour before I have to go and officially teach. Um, I love teaching. I love teaching music in particular. But I am going to try and do something new here. Let's see. Capture. See if I can find this particular. There it is. Awesome. It's kind of bigger than my head, though. There. Cool. All right. So, what is my stream looking like? Oops. There. Okay, so scales and the like. Apparently I missed some people on D-Live last time, so sorry about that. I had no idea the chat was going, but all you people who had followed and everything else, awesome. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll see this as a belated thank you. I thought this chat was going to come through on my client, but it doesn't for some reason, which is really annoying. I'll have to see why it's not coming through. Why it's not connecting the other one. I'll screw with that later. But I have you guys up and out there now. So it's time for my guitar. And my last bit of exercises here. So let's see. Where can I move this? So you guys can see the neck. All right. Move over a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to just finish up with my normal practice routine in terms of warm-up. This doesn't include the pieces that I'm going to be working on or anything else. Unfortunately, I don't have a huge window of time like I normally do. I try to get about 3 to 4 hours in a day. The first third of that is generally technique, and then I move on to pieces and those sections which are tricky. So this next thing that we're going to be doing is, let's put it this way. This next thing is chromatic scale. I always screw up how to spell exercises, so I'm just going to go with it today. Not that I am brilliant with spelling, but either way. So the goal with this one, and it's kind of like based off of the Flight of the Bumblebee, is to work on finger combinations I don't ordinarily consider a strong point. So what I mean by that is, you know, the usually I and M in classical music, classical guitar and finger picking guitar are like the predominant fingers that we use. I, M, like so. But you know, M and A and I and A finger combinations, though they're used, aren't predominantly worked on in order to get better. Segovia had a great idea with his Segovia scales that he made these finger combinations part of it. You practice a scale with I and M, practice it another way, practice it in another combination, so you had basically every possible finger combination through it set. So what I'm going to do is just, instead of isolating, going through I and M and all those other combinations, I'm going to start with M and A, starting on the A finger when I ascend the neck, and then I'm going to descend it using M then A. So I'm going to lead off with the A finger, and that means that the A finger is going to be played on the beat with the metronome, and that helps establish a stronger pluck with the, it's just a subconscious thing that happens. And then when I go on my way back down, I'm going to be doing the same idea, but starting with the M finger, and that's going to allow me to give the N finger a little bit more of a push as I descend. Anyways, it's quiet because I muted. Yeah, that is not what I want. I should not be hearing myself, but I am. Okay. I think I'm good here. Whoa. No, I'm still talking. It's still coming through. I need the metronome to come through. I think that is this. There. Good. Alright. Otherwise the metronome, that'll really screw me up. Okay. So, without further ado, Semi-Chromatic is kind of like a Flight of the Bumblebees. If anybody wants the music, just hit me up with a message and I can put it up there. This other Sibelius thing in the corner. This is so weird. It's all backwards. It's an F major scale, and we'll be getting to that soon. But first up, chromatic scale exercises. So let me hide the Sibelius window for a minute. And let's get going. So starting with A finger, A and M, semi-chromatic, up to the 12th fret, top 3 strings. And so on and so forth and such as and all that other fun stuff. So, okay, so that all the way up to the top there, the 12th fret. That's the word I'm looking for. So descending, I'm going to start with the M finger rather than the A finger and get the same idea going descending the strings. Gotta be careful not to swing it, and I'm starting to do that. Alright, so M and A coming back down was a little bit weak. for sure. It might have been a little bit too quick. I'm usually pretty good at handling it around 90, but it's been a day since I've done this exercise, so I'm not exactly sure what the issue is with that, outside of just probably being out of practice and coming into it a little bit cold. Usually I do this exercises after my last group, so this is a little bit more from the cold, as I had to run and do some adulting with taking care of stuff at the motor vehicles department and so on. All right, next batch of exercises. It's the same pattern, except this time I'm using A and I, and then I'm going to reverse it to I and A once I get to the 12th. Then flip it around, start with the I finger. And so on. That's that. Okay, cool. That is a nice little semi-chromatic scale runs there that kind of based off of Flight of the Bumblebee by... Oop, that's my timer. I'll be right back. Ta-da! It's cooking. And now it's done. Everybody is happy. Maybe. Or maybe not. Anyways, so the next thing that I'm going to be working on is the actual scale exercises here. So the fundamental thing is you want to be able to execute the scales consistently without a metronome clicking while I'm talking, and so on. Now, Sibelius is going, right? Let's turn on Sibelius. Ta-da! Okay, so we're going to be going through the 7 major modes with this. Where are my windows? There we go. 7 major modes. Ta-da, ta-da. Practicing the 7 major modes, or the modes of the major scale. So what this does is, these are the 7 major modes, and if you take a look at the Sibelius here, in the corner, wonderful Sibelius, I like it a lot more than the Finale because it's a little bit more sensible. Anyways, but that's my opinion. Both of them are great software, and sometimes I'll use Finale when I need to do something else that Sibelius can't necessarily handle. So looking at this layout, this is your F major scale. You know, you have it in the first octave, going from here to there. Now I've laid it out to an octave and a fourth, or 2 octaves and a fourth, and ascending and descending. So you have F, G, A, B, C, I'm sorry, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, and then descending back down. B flat, A, G, D, F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G, F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G, F. Ta-da! Those are all your notes in your F major scale. The when you're practicing it, I always send it up to the top, as you can see with the Sibelius here, with the B flat up at the top, and that's still a B flat for those that are not familiar with reading music. And a bar line, if you have an accidental, which is this little flat symbol thingy here, show up, it's going to stay flat for that entire bar until you get to the next one. Hence, I have to adjust them on the way down. I didn't want to put it in the key signature because I'm going to be doing some things, manipulating this particular scale, in order to show you what happens with the modes and how they relate to a major scale, which is often what we talk about when we're talking about, oh, this is a flat 2, flat 3 major scale, and what that actually means. Okay, so back to this. So I am going to be doing these scales. I've been nailing it at around 124 beats a minute to the 16th note. That's clearly not written. This right, it's tough to do. This right here is not written out in 16th notes. It's written out in straight quarters. I'm going to start with quarters, but then I'm going to get into further subdivisions. So it starts with a quarter note, then half notes doing the same pattern, then what's the way to put it? Then triplet, then straight 16ths. All right, so here we go. Straight quarters. Excuse me, guys, for a second. This I gotta take. Okay. Phone calls and important things. So we just did the F major scale. Now we're going to do the same scale, but I'm going to do it in half note, or not half notes, eighth notes to the underlying tempo here. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The cool thing about this metronome is if you need to hear it, there it is. But I don't necessarily need to hear it, at least not now. So I'm going to be going through the F major scale with the 8th note to the beat. The scale is over. I really wish it. The scale is over there. Those are the notes written out in Sibelius. I'll add tab in a minute if you need it. But just watch my hands and you'll get a good grip on where the notes are. And fundamentally, though, if I can pull out my soapbox is out. Learning to read the music is going to help you in the long run a hell of a lot more than just playing it in the tab. You need to be able to think of scales not as just patterns, but as in notes and the constructed things that those notes imply when you put them into chords. The more you can think about in notes, the more versatile you're going to be in manipulating those notes, which is going to give you the ability to actually write the music out and do more things that way with improvising, versus if you're doing it with just a strict pattern, you can get some ideas of improvising that way, and clearly it can be done because a lot of people do that. But I think in terms of understanding exactly what you're doing, knowing the notes will make it a lot more applicable and able to explain it to somebody else than being like, oh yeah, I just kind of like use 1, 3, and 4 and do this little pattern thing and move it up by half steps or whichever. Both of them don't. One's leads to a little bit more of musical control, and that doesn't mean that necessarily that somebody is better, but it does give them a lot more the ability to manipulate stuff without having to have the instrument in their hands. So I always tell my students that it's why am I not connected here? What's going on? There we go. All right. Lost my connection. I always tell my students that music is a language and you're using the guitar to express it. So you need to understand the grammar of that language, as much as I hated English class. So understanding the fundamental of the notes and how those work together in relation to these 7 major modes is a good idea. So here's the next one with the 8th note to the beat. Done. Same pattern as written out on Sibelius over there. Next up is triplet with them to the quarter note. So straight through, triplet to the quarter note, as you can see, with the metronome going up in the corner. That is the next step for practicing the scale. Now, at this point, I'm doing it with a repeated high note, which keeps the accents in the same spot. By accents, I mean that when I'm ascending the scale, every note that is on the next string is going to be falling onto the beat. For example, so it's like the Addams Family beginning. Go figure. And on the way descending, it's on the highest note of the string. So it's basically whenever you're crossing a string, the beat kicks in. One of the things that you can do is take away this extra note at the top here, this extra B flat, and just immediately descend. And that'll shift where the accent is for the beat. And that's a great idea to do, to be able to practice this with different accents in different areas, because it's surprisingly confusing to the hand, though the pattern stays the same. But when the accent shifts, it's like, okay, what's going on? What gets a pull a little bit more? Generally, I do that when I practice. In this case right now, I'm not going to. I'll do it for a quick example, but I'm working more on getting the A, the M, and the I fingers to fire consistently across the strings, because I'm practicing the scales with that. I'm finding that my speed is a lot more reliable with AMI. So anyways, here it is with shifting the accent. Yeah, that's weird to do with the AM and I. It's easier with the I and M. And eventually it starts to land back on the where the root is on the downbeat there. It's a great little shift to get to which finger gets a little bit more push on either finger and stuff like that. Hey, Saching21, thanks for following me. Appreciate it. Yay, I can finally see this. It's about time. Cool. Anyways, so moving on. Did I say it right? Sachin, Sakhin, 21. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it. But thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. All right. So the next thing is going to be straight 16th notes to this quarter, which is, this is about, I don't want to say this is my breaking point. This is about my steady point. At 124 beats a minute, this is something that I want to be able to control speed consistently for at least a couple of bars of that subdivision in order to build a good sense of time with the subdivisions in that. In other words, you don't want to just try and aim to get 4 notes a click when you're doing 16th notes against a quarter. You want to aim to have those completely separated at an equal distance for each one. So ticka taka ticka taka ticka taka ticka taka versus da da da. You know, it's like you want to make sure that each single one is consistent across it. And often I see a lot of my students that they'll be able to play scales at this particular rate or even faster, but the note divisions aren't even. And that's this difference between, I always use the example of falling down the stairs and landing on your feet versus using a railing and walking down. Both of them get you to the same spot, but one of them's clearly a little bit more comfortable in the long run. So when you're doing it, try to aim to make sure that you have the subdivisions done correctly. This app that I'm using, it's called Metronome X. It's on a Mac. That's what I'm on. It's in their app store. There's a free and a paid version. The free version allows you to do most of the stuff that you're seeing me do now. The only thing that it doesn't allow you to do is save your presets, and which is kind of useful, and have partial bars, in other words, 3.5 over 4, which gets into some pretty exotic rhythms, which are great, but the free version doesn't have that. And I'm considering I'm not using them right now. I'm not too worried about having the full version. Anyways, so here we go. This is straight through 16th notes. At least I'm going to be doing that. So 4 beats per click. Taka 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 taka. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. One of the things that before you start playing these things, if you're not sure if you're going to be able to handle the speed, is to just say it out loud. You know, get the clicks going and so on. Hey, Cloudfish, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it, man. So make sure that you're getting the ticka 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 ticka. Oh, that was off. And know when you're off too. Ticka 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 ticka. Say it out loud. Use whatever type of mnemonic devices that you can have it with, whether it's 1 Eanda or ticka taka or whichever. As long as you're getting a steady division of it, if you can say it, it's going to internalize it a lot better, and you can play it. So here we go. There you go. So a couple of times through that, I mean, the first time I was super tense, and it just showed, I mean, my hand went kind of a little bit weird, and then I immediately thought of, let's just it a second, and then take it down a notch in terms of body tension and allow it to flow. You want to think about, when you're playing the scales, not necessarily, oh my God, this is fast. Think of the bigger beats, and that everything else will fall into place. And try and do it as much in a relaxed pose as possible. Like, let your shoulders droop. And this is, you're exercising right now. So there's no need to be tense about a mistake, because it's just drilling it. So the reason I'm doing this live, warts and all, is to make sure that I can get all the jitters out and just learn to be completely in the moment. And plus, I like doing it, but learn to be completely in the moment regardless if somebody's watching me or not in terms of playing. So that right there is a rundown of how I practice scales. That was the F major scale, straight up. Now, next up, let me just adjust the title here. So we got the F major. Now we're going to go to the F Dorian scale, which there's several different ways to think about how scales are relating to each other. I like to do it, everything relates to the major scale. So our major scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If we're talking scale degrees. And if you look in the Sibelius, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. That leads us to the next F, and then next F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4th, and then it descends back down again. Ta-da. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You can keep going. You can say 8 if you want. So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that's about where we stop in terms of the next, speaking in terms of the teen digits. After that, there's no such thing as a usable like 14th or 15th. It's just, there's so much of a voice spread with that to where it becomes in another voice and it doesn't really matter. But if you're playing chords or you're new to chords and you see the numbers that are put next to them, like a G sus4 or a F minor 9 or a flat 13, all those numbers are talking about are different scale degrees relating to the first note of the scale. So if I was going to play an F major 7 chord, I'd play the F followed by the 3 followed by the 5, so F, A, C. And then the E, which is the 7th scale degree, I'm going to add to that. And that's that. So in this case, the one way to play an F major 7, there's several different, but if I'm going to play it in that note order, is F, A, C, E. And then, relieve some of that tension there. Okay, so, all that being said, the next thing up is the F Dorian scale. So I'm going to change the wording with this because, oops, cancel. Okay. So the F Dorian scale is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the major scale. To do the difference, that's your major scale. Dunk. The Dorian scale is going to start on the same first degree. We're going to do it in F. And then it's going to be 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, then flat 7. So in terms of looking at the music in Sibelius, we have our 1, which is the F, then G, that's 2. Now A is going to be flatted, and then 7th degree is going to be flatted. So a Dorian scale is basically, it's a major scale, and this is one way to look at it, not necessarily like the ultimate way to look at it. There's several different ways that we can do it, but this is the one that I like teaching first, and then you can get more elaborate ways of it later on. But the you have 1, 2, flat 3, which I just did with changing that A to an A flat, and then 4 and 5 stay the same, 6 stays the same, and then the 7th degree, the E, moves down a half step to an E flat. So Dorian is, if we take it, here's the major scale, first octave, 3 notes per string, and then I play it in Dorian. I'm going to take those notes that would normally be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and I'm going to take the 3rd and the 7th note and flat them. Or on a guitar, that means I'm going to move that note down a half step or 1 fret on the guitar. So like this, 1, 2, there's my 3rd. So if I'm playing a Dorian, I'm going to move it down to an A flat here, 1 half step lower. So 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's my natural 7. So that's going to move down a half step. that's flat 7, 1. So to play it straight through, an F Dorian would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 1, or 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. Now I'm going to adjust the rest of the notes in Sibelius here so that we have uniformity across the octaves. So this A is going to go down. This E is going to go down. This A is going to go down. Notice how I changed that to a natural. That's just because of where I am in the program, but I can eliminate that accidental over there. In reading music, I've mentioned this before in case people don't know how to read, but the flat cymbals or sharp cymbals, if they show up in a bar, they stay in that on that note, regardless if the note's written again, and it's the rule is that it stays that whatever the accidental is. So, for example, this A flat is an A flat at the end, even though it just shows an A without the accidental. Until we cross the bar line, then all that goes away and you have to manipulate the notes again. So we got that E flat there, that A flat here, then boom. So now we have flat 6 and, or I'm sorry, flat 3 and flat 7 in the F Dorian mode, and that's written out in music right here. As you can see in the bottom corner here. Oh, water bottle in the way. The major scale is written out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Then the Dorian scale is written out and how it relates to the major scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat, or 4, 5, 6, flat 7. Wow, I keep slipping into Aeolian there. Okay, so same idea of practicing it. I'm going to go quarter note, eighth note, triplet, 16th. Well, quarter. There's a flat 7. There's a flat 3. Now notice when I ended it though, it sounds like it needs to go somewhere else. There's the relative major to that score. Scale is the E flat. Anyways, the Dorian is always the second built off the second degree of a scale. So, anyway, we'll talk more about that another time. This isn't going to be a breakdown of Dorian in particular. I just want to be able to run through the scale. And I got 10 minutes here before I got to get out and officially teach. So I want to get some more exercises in. So I'm going to go through the Dorian scale right now with these exercises: quarter note, eighth note, triplet, 16th. I already did quarter note, so on to eighth. Yep. I like ending the resolution, or the tension there. It just makes me feel better. Anyways, let's see. All right, so here we go. Going up through it. Sure everything's going okay with the stream. All right, now for the triplet. Sixteenths. So there it is, 4 times through the 16th notes. It's getting there. It needs to be a little bit louder and more confident with that, but it'll get there. The biggest thing is to keep going through it. Okay, so moving on, we're going to be doing the Phrygian. All right, so taking a look in the bottom here, let me move this up a little bit. There we go. We have the F major scale written out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. The Dorian and its manipulation relative to the F major scale 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. Then the Phrygian is a further manipulation of it, and it's going to be 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Let me get Sibelius here. So we need to add a flat 2, which is a G flat in this regard, and then flat 6, flat 7, 1, so G flat, there's a D flat, I'm basically going through in every G and D, making them flat. Okay, so that written out in music is now the F Phrygian scale. And I think we're going to have to end after this one, and then we'll come back next time, and I will go through the Lydian and the Mixolydian, the Aeolian and the Locrian modes, with their comparative things in the corner and written out in Sibelius. So when you're doing the Phrygian mode, you're going to be flatting the 2nd, 3rd, 6th, and 7th of the major scale. So counting through, here's a major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. I'm going to be flatting 2, 3, 6, and 7. So 1, there's my flat 2. That's where a 3 natural would be, flat 3, 4, 5, those stay the same. Then I'm going to do the flat 6, because the regular 6 is here on the 5th fret. And then the flat 7, which is normally an E natural on the 2nd fret of the D string, is going to go down a half step to the E flat on the 1st fret, and then 1, and then you can continue on the octave. So this is the Phrygian mode, staying in the 1st position as it's written in the music over here, not over my shoulder, but right there. Ha! Now it makes sense. All right, here we go. Whoa, falling apart there. Let's try it again. Getting a little bit sloppy. I think some of it is clearly on my own thing of technique. I need to drill that a little bit more, but also my nails are a little bit long, so I need to shave those down to get a better shape and make them slide off of the strings a little bit cleaner. And by a little long, I mean like just a little bit. And with classical guitar, you really want to have like a happy medium between length and speed. You know, you don't need super long claws. You need something shaped well at an appropriate length so that it's going to be as efficient as possible coming across the string and keep a very good, consistently nice, warm tone. All right, so that's the F Phrygian. So I'm going to stop things here for today. Tune in next time, which will probably be tomorrow morning. I'll try to stream every morning that I practice for at least a couple hours, and then in the afternoon when I'm done with that. So I'll see you around 10:30 Eastern Time. Thanks a lot. Bye.